Hey guys, it's Phil coming back here with another video. I hope everyone's doing well, taking care of themselves, checking in with themselves, and practicing self-care during this time. With everything going on, there's a lot of wildness, and we need to make sure that we're focusing on our own well-being and how we can manage and navigate everything that's going on without effectively burning ourselves out. But before we get into that, 33 people have passed their exams since my last video 2 weeks ago, which is completely mind-blowing, and it's amazing to me, and I'm blessed to even be a part of your guys' process when you walk in, navigate, kick the exam right in the chest, and pass your exams, and they are as follows. Tempest P, Madison M, Nikki M, Casey P, Archiana M, Julie M, Maya N, Chastity C, Shantika H, Shelby P, Tony R, Erica R, Mandy C, Kenya S, Livia F, Suzanne B, Natasha B, Krista C, Rajan R, Joe M, Rosa O, Marina L, Jerry R, Taylor S, Candace S, Morgan C, Melissa P, Rita A.O., Karina W, India J, Sarah P, Jennifer W, and Jessica D. I'm so excited, and like I said, I cannot say it without just bursting out into excitement because it's so exciting to see that how much this has transformed and how many people have passed their exams, because the last time I checked, it was up to like 800 people that have passed the exams with repping and rocking with me. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys, because when you guys walk in, believe in yourselves, trust yourselves, and get to where you want to go, and then propel yourselves to the next level in this profession, it is amazing to me, and it blows my mind. And if you want to be a part of the Sunday study groups and join the Fill in the Gaps community as well, the next study groups are as follows. 614, acronym and practice questions. 621, human developmental theories. 628, community interventions. 75, client interventions. 712, practice questions with a little bit of mixture of recall, application and reasoning questions. And 719, ethics. And if you want any information about those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, and you're like, Phil, I want more individualized services. I do offer individual tutoring, so send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link in the description and it'll send you to my calendar. You'll be able to schedule it yourself, and then you'll be able to directly interact with me and get assistance with that, as well as I'm kind of excited but a little bit nervous to announce this to you guys. And I did a poll on my Facebook page at Fill in the Gaps. If you aren't following that or liking that right now, I'm going to do a one-day test prep. I've never done it before, and I'm pretty excited to understand and see where it could go. Like I said, I'm super duper nervous, but what it's going to contain is tips on, I feel, that are most helpful to pass the exams, with helping so many people pass, just common themes that I see, and then ways that people can navigate the process of studying how to be successful, easy ways to break down tricky topics, because there's a lot of topics that people don't really understand, and it's like, dude, I wish I understood it. Maybe like the code of ethics, community interventions, research, program development, how do I do this or how do I do that, common reasons for why people fail the exam, or common ways that people get triggered by anxiety and how to navigate it and analyze it and alleviate it in the moment, as well as how to break down practice questions, and a ton of practice questions. I'm thinking of doing it from 10 a.m. all the way until 6 p.m. And the date that I'm thinking on is June 27th, which is a Saturday. We do it in the morning, do some sessions, and then take like a break in the middle of it for lunch, and then finish off in the evening time or afternoon time with practice questions, ripping them apart, tearing them apart, just so that you guys have better comprehension. Like I said, I've never really done it before, so I'm kind of excited but a little nervous to bring it to you guys. And if you want information on that, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or go to the link in the description. I will have that. You'll be able to sign up. I'll get you guys the link directly. And like I said, I'm pretty excited to do it, but also very, very nervous, because I'm a huge proponent of like staying in my comfort zone, but also pushing myself, and which leads me to a couple of things that I want to kind of get into that. But before we do that, if you want to support me additionally, as well as the sponsor of my YouTube page and my podcast, it's Audible. So go to audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps, sign up for the 30-day free trial, get you a free book, and that just is an easy free way to support me. Just go to the link, sign up for the 30-day free trial, get you a book, and if you're like, Phil, I'm not even really sure what book I would get, but I do really want to support you, some that I would suggest that you put inside of your library are The Alchemist, The Power of a Positive No, and Outliers. Those are just a couple of books that I still live out and think about daily of how they apply to my current situation. So again, if you want to find an easy way to support me, go to my affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. It's just an easy way to support me. And if you don't know, I have a podcast. You can search on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify at Fill in the Gaps as well. And as I kind of alluded to before, my Facebook page is also Fill in the Gaps. It's just an easy way to get a lot of information as well as stay up to date with everything that I'm doing. And if you like this video, give it a like. It's an easy way for other people to discover my videos and understand it is a helpful thing. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's a easy way to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Click the bell next to it so that way you get an email every time I upload a video, and comment down below anything that you're excited for or anything that you're struggling with, because I try to get to every single one of those. Plus there's a lot of people that will monitor the chat and give encouragement as well. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all the support, but a couple of things that have been looming on my mind that I want to get out to you guys is a lot of people are getting their test dates changed around, or they're like, yo, I'm not really sure I want to wait for taking my exam, so I'm going to just leap into the next opportunity. Or they're like, Phil, I failed my exam X amount of times, I'm not really sure what's going on, it's not where I wanted to be. And something that's been on my mind pretty heavily is patience is a very, very difficult thing for us to have, but it's a must-have if we want to succeed in our lives in any way, shape, or form. We have to be willing to wait, because with prosperity, patience is always a part of the process. Anything that's done quickly or impulsively or done over here often does not lead to positive results. So you almost have to peel back of where your impulses and urges are at and stay in the moment and say, I need to be patient because my opportunities and my blessings are brewing up and I need to be ready to catch them when they're there. So being patient in the moment. And like I said, I'm a very results-driven person and I like to get to where I want to go, but anything that I've ever done in my life, as long as I was patient, didn't give up on myself, and stayed within that moment, I was able to do what I wanted to do. And like I said, announcing this one-day prep program was pretty nerve-wracking to me, but I had to be patient to make sure that it's something that is viable and available to do, because I could have easily done it way before, but I wanted to make sure I rolled out something that I was confident and comfortable with. So anything that has gone right in my life, I've always been patient, and I have a human mind just like everyone else, so I want everything fast as much as I possibly get. So when it comes to the testing scene, a lot of us are like, well, I could either take it this Saturday or in 3 months. I'd rather get it done this Saturday because I can get another one. And it's like, do the pros and cons. If there's more pros than cons to taking it sooner rather than later, do so, but do not rush into a situation that you're not entirely comfortable with. And that does not mean that if you don't feel comfortable that you shouldn't be walking into the exam, because the whole nother discussion that we need to be having is your confidence level outwardly in your professional life, in your personal life, mirroring what is your internal positive or negative self-talk? If you are negatively bringing yourself down but outwardly confident towards other people, we need to get a sense of connectivity within yourself. And if other people are trying to drag you down or bring you down, you have to cut them out, because you need to have so much faith in your ability to be able to do whatever task is in front of you that you need to almost monitor the amount of information and all of the sources of information you're bringing into your life in any way, shape, or form. And with everything going on, it's easy to absorb everything that's happening around us, or everyone else's situations, or everyone else's emotions. But if you do not prepare yourself to be in stressful situations or stretched in any way, shape, or form, you are not going to be able to maintain the activity or situation when it is actually happening. So you need to make sure that your outward confidence level is a mirror of your internal confidence level. And if you're not internally confident, or you second guess or self-doubt yourself within the situation, then you are going to lead to less positive results than if you were inwardly like not confident, outwardly not confident, because then you'd be able to work on it and address it effectively. So making sure and taking an inventory of, if I'm telling myself I can't pass the exam or succeed in a goal that I have for myself, but I'm telling other people, man, I'm so excited, but when I'm by myself practicing, I'm not believing in myself, that's a problem. Because if you are not consistent, you are not going to have a consistent base of what to fall back on when you're in the exam. Because the exam is going to trigger a lot of angst and a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. So whatever you've been practicing is where your mind and body are going to adapt to during the exam. So if you're not practicing being positive with yourself, or not being kind to yourself, or not being able to navigate your anxiety, when you're in the exam, in the fire, you're not going to be positive and building yourself up. You're going to be tearing yourself down and perishing and not getting to the most positive result that you could possibly have gotten to. And those are just a couple of things that have been looming in my mind. And a lot of people are like, Phil, I don't even think I can handle this situation. And it's like, if you have a genie or a crystal ball that tells you all of the things, then you might as well just go based on that. But you do not have evidence of what your current exam situation is going to look like. And you may have failed the exam in the past. You may have failed multiple times, but you being able to predict your current situation and project it into the future is very highly unlikely. So you almost have to reality test yourself and say, is the messages that I'm projecting outward into the world consistent with what I'm telling myself? And again, I have struggled a lot with, I'm not even sure if I can handle this, or I'm not sure if I did this, that this would happen. But this YouTube channel, these videos, and the study groups on due on Sunday, and this one-day test prep would not have been possible if I let my self-doubt and anxiety drive me so far out of the situation and say, no one's going to watch the videos. No one's going to think that what you're doing is useful or helpful, or the strategy you're sharing, they're not new. Other people have done this before you, and it's like, those people and those opinions that I had about myself, I had to change that and say, you may be anxious and nervous and have doubts. Everyone does. But if you rob yourself of the potential that you could potentially project out into the world, you are not going to live a satisfying life or do the things that you want to do within your situation. So you have to almost say, do my goals and my self-talk and my motivation and drive actually meet one another? And if they don't, you have a disconnect. So you almost have to peel back your goals and say, what motivation, what energy level, what are things that get me going, what are things that are going to drive me closer to my goal rather than tear me down? And if it's people in your life, if it's your own self, if it's the fear of the unknown, you need to challenge and push past what you're wanting to do in the situation and get to where you deserve to go. Because if you're going to stop yourself from being the best possible version of yourself, how are you going to help other people reach the next level and get to that next level of where you want them to go? Because the way that you conduct and tell clients and help clients get to where they want to go is the same way that you have to navigate yourself to get to where you want to go, and being kind, practicing grace, setting realistic goals, and pushing past fear and anxiety to get to where you want to go is super duper important in that process. Do not rob yourself of where you need to go, because if that's the case, you might as well take yourself to the nearest prison, because you're stealing yourself of the most amount of things that exist in this world, which is your potential and your future. They're worth more than anything. So do not let previous situations or previous negative self-talk stop you. And I said previous negative self-talk and previous experiences, because after this moment, you will not bring yourself down. You will not take yourself out of this situation. You will believe in yourself. You will take yourself to the next level. You will do what you need to do to get to where you want to go. You will not allow adversity. You will not allow failure. You will not allow anything in this moment to stop you from getting to where you need to go. You need to tell yourself at this moment, pause the video and say, I deserve to be where I need to be, so I need to stop tearing myself down, and I need to start putting forth positive energy, because positive thoughts, positive energy equals positive results. No more negativity in this moment, because if you want negativity, step outside your door, because there's enough negativity to go around, and it's like a passing dish. everyone wants to throw on negative. Everyone's looking at the negatives of the situation rather than looking at the positives, building themselves up, building their communities up, building their support networks up. So we need to be the positive energy, because when someone is positive around you, it projects positivity everywhere else. And when you're successful and when you're believing in yourself and you're consistent, it's contagious, and other people are going to want to be positive, consistent, and get the job done. So do not rob yourself of where you need to be going at this given moment based on some past experiences or negative thoughts, because you need to spin that around and get to where you need to go, because you deserve to do better things than you have been doing at this moment, because when you know better, you do better. So you need to start getting that moment of recognition and clarity to get to where you need to go. And this upcoming study group is going to lead into that as well, of interacting. And if you want to be a part of those, look out for my next free study group. And it's just a lot going on in my mind, guys, and I just want to make sure I project and produce as much as I possibly can for you guys. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, it's my pleasure to be able to do this and interact with every single one of you. And it's so amazing to me to reflect back that just one video back when I didn't think that I could handle it or do anything, produce this. So if you believe, you will achieve, man. I can't say it enough that as long as you do not give up, you will get to where you want to go, and you will be able to produce as much results and get to where you need to be going. And it may not be in the timeline that you think it is, but you're going to exceed anywhere that you can even imagine. So I can't say it enough. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you need anything at all, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. Again, if you want to get into the Sunday study groups, the next ones that are coming up are as follows. 614, acronym and practice questions. 621, human developmental theories. 628, community interventions. 75, client interventions. 712, practice questions mix, recall, application, and reasoning questions. And then 719, ethics. And then if you're interested in the one-day test prep or one-day pilot prep course, the information will be in the description, as well as my individual tutoring. And if you have any questions about anything, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. Do one positive thing for yourself and practice self-care in this moment. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out, guys. All right, how do you recommend a study schedule?
Hello.
How is it going?
I figured it out. All right. So I would say that what I mean by my question is that basically I'm extremely disciplined when I am doing anything related to school. When I was studying for the last time I took a test was the LMSW. So I was really rigid with my study schedule. I studied at minimum like 2 or 3 hours a day. And then from Monday through Friday, I would read the material. Then I do questions on weekends. And then each week I would do a different chapter in the book. I bought the ASWB books. I was successful. That worked for me. And that's generally how I get through school whenever I'm in any kind of school for something. But just because I'm trying to base it off my frame of reference from the L, my main questions are kind of, to what extent can I use that experience as like a precursor to the C test? Or is it like a whole nother animal that I'm not approaching the same way? Or would that really not be beneficial? Do I need to think more like analytically and like actual, like, I don't know, I guess like information and the ins and outs of the book is not so much what I need to focus on? Is it more geared towards like, I don't know, experiential questions, less theory? You know what I mean?
So with that, I'm going to start you off by saying the way that you did it before is likely how you have to approach it this time, based on the fact that it's the way you learn and that's how you process and navigate accomplishing goals.
Okay.
The main difference between the master's level test and the clinical level test is the way that you're going to intervene or address what you do within the situation. And if you look at the KSAs, which is the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the master's level test and the clinical level test, they're almost the exact same with some of them in different orders. And the main difference is one is case management and the other is psychotherapy interventions. So
Right.
that is the main difference there. But the way that the test is structured is the absolute same. You're still going to have 170 questions. Only
Right.
150 are going to count. 20
Mhm.
of them are going to get tossed out. It's still 4 hours, unless you have accommodations, of course.
Mhm.
And they are going to be scenario client based interactions, and you have to be able to prioritize and say what the heck is going on within that situation.
Okay. That makes sense. That's why when I found your videos on YouTube, I was like, whoa, this guy's great. I got to know more because I really liked your approach to it. And it's been helpful so far in all of my practice questions. I remember approaching priority and clinical intervention based on like someone had given me a tip to use Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I was like, yo, that's a really good idea. And that's kind of like how I did it. So sometimes when I'm going through your YouTube videos and I'm listening to you break down the questions using the format that you've been teaching us, I kind of see some similarities in that. So I guess I'm really happy to hear that all of this kind of is making me feel like it's going to be a similar experience to the L test. That's great. Cool.
Yes, and it's in this the clinical exam or the LCSW exam is not this beaten dragon that is just out to get you in some way. Like you are not going to see you may see things on there that you're like, holy smokes, but you're not going to get every single question correct. And that's where you have to give yourself grace to not know things, but shoot for just passing the exam because no one goes around hanging their passing score and
Yeah, yeah,
comparing it. It's
yeah,
either
of
you
course.
passed or you failed, and your job interview is not going to be like, well, your score on the exam was, it's going to be like, either you pass or fail, can you bill, and can you get the job done?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Okay, cool. Great.
So you're in a better spot than you even thought prior to this.
Yeah, I gotta say, I feel kind of confident about it. That's great. I just sometimes I like to study the test. It's I don't know. Sometimes I feel like with standardized testing, it's not like it's what you know kind of, but as long as you know like how to take the test, you're fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Awesome. And if you need anything in the meantime, just let me know, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. If you missed 1 point on your first attempt LCSW exam, what am I missing? Or do I need to pass my second attempt? How is
Hello,
it going?
good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. So, okay, so I took my LCSW last year in December, and I missed it by 1 point. I wasn't upset the way I was when I failed my LMSW twice and passed it the third time. Um, so I'm just wondering, like, what kind of techniques that I need to look into to help pass the second attempt. Maybe. No, probably for sure. Like really, I'm hopeful for that. So any suggestions?
Well, walk me through the first process. What was your process? What worked for you and what did not work for you?
Studying wise.
Yes.
So what I learned from my LMSW kind of experience to limit my studying material. So I limited my studying material just to a study guide by Don Apakar or something. So that's all I studied. I studied my DSM through the DSM book itself. So I didn't even watch your videos prior to that or anything. So I studied that study guide. I just took little notes and did my test. And boom, failed it with 1 point. And that's it.
What's your view of failing it by 1 point?
Well, actually, I was happy about it. I was sad and happy. It was kind of like a mix in between both. Because kind of like failing by 1 point, I thought, okay, I think like the 80% people who usually pass it, so I'm not far behind. And yeah, but just failing it is like, oh shoot. It's like I missed it by 1 point. Like I could have probably done better. I don't know. And while I was doing the exam too, there are some questions that kind of stopped me and did not even know an answer for it. I was like, what would you do? Like really as a social worker, what would you do? And I was like, well, I don't know. That's kind of, and it wasn't knowledge. It was mostly reasoning.
Yes, and that's how the exams are structured, are mostly knowledge, and you have to be able to apply the situation and how you'd react and prioritize it. But like I was wondering what your view was, and it was more of a positive view, which is good because you can utilize a lot of the things that you did last time to propel you to passing. It's going to be small changes and small additions to what you're currently doing to propel you past where you once were. So you don't need a big, massive remodeling. It's just reflecting what worked for you, what didn't work for you, in what ways do I have to view the situations differently to get that passing score.
Sure. And what would you recommend looking into, studying techniques, or because I'm planning on taking it now here in about a month, so March, first week of March. So what do I need to look into? I kind of like changed my studying techniques now. I had everything on an index card where I can review it, and instead of looking into the study guide itself. I looked at your breaking down questions and your model, gosh, forgot what it is.
Acronym.
Yes, the acronyms. I still have hard time applying those acronyms to the question. It's just because sometimes with some questions I can tell you, oh, that's the right answer without applying your acronyms, and then applying the acronyms, my answer is the wrong answer. So kind of like
Then don't use them. Don't use the acronym if it's going to lead you to getting worse results. It's not for everybody, and your mind may not work that way, and that's okay.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because just because I utilize it because it works for me does not mean that I'm going to suggest it to everybody, because it's not a one size fits all, because your style worked prior to you finding it. So you may just need to utilize the way that I break down the questions or the way I view the questions, and throw the acronym to the side because it's not your sword.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? Because and this is where it gets me, because most times people interact with me, they feel that they have to utilize the acronym because I suggest to use it and I use it. That's not the way that I operate, because I want you to be able to operate and navigate the questions in the best way that works for you, because my goal is to have you pass the exam, not utilize the acronym and pass the exam.
Got it. Okay.
So that's where I would say you almost don't need to change anything. You just need to pick up little tips here and there, because you were close to passing the exam. It was only 1 point. It wasn't 30 or 40.
And does it matter if your English is your second language? I was just wondering, like, would it matter? Would language really kind of, I don't know.
What do you mean by that?
Well, English is in my first language. So I was wondering, maybe the wording of the questions that kind of tripped me off, that I couldn't really get.
Quite possibly. That could be a factor in this situation. It's hard for me to say because I don't know the questions that you got wrong. And I don't know how you actually break down the questions and navigate them. So it's kind of hard for me to discuss like what areas you need to improve on that front because I haven't seen you do it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to misguide you and say, yeah, it's totally this or that. But from my personal experience of having people that have English their second language when working with me, sometimes the words do trip them up. But I always tell people, if you don't know that a word or don't know the meaning of a word, pick the best answer that makes sense to you and move on. There's no need to monopolize time away from where you could be effective.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course. And that's why I was trying to understand like what you meant by your comment. But yes, it could be a barrier. And if you don't currently have accommodations, you can apply for accommodations and you may get additional time based on English being your second language.
And time hasn't been an issue, like for my LMS or for that time I took my LC.
Okay. And that's again, me not knowing the entire situation, me just trying to help you in the best way.
Got it. No, thank you. I appreciate you.
Of course. Any other questions that you have?
That's it.
Okay. And if you need anything in the meantime, I guess just let me
Sure.
know, okay?
I will. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. To what extent do we need to memorize the code of ethics? You do not need to memorize the code of ethics. That's the extent that you need to memorize it. What I always say when people are like, do I need to memorize this or do I need to memorize this other topic area? You do not have to memorize anything. You just need to be able to identify what is within the code of ethics or what's in the Freudian theory or what's in Erickson's or what's in Maslow's or what's in cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy or structural family or strategic or Bowen's. You do not need to memorize every little nick and cranny of them. You just have to be able to differentiate it from something from another thing, as well as be able to navigate what components are within the code of ethics and how they actually operate and the moving parts move together or against one another and where the gray areas are within the code of ethics. So for example, most people know that bartering is often not utilized within the practice setting because the code of ethics says that. But if you do not know the component where it says that in certain situations that bartering is appropriate based on the fact that if it's a rural area or it's a community norm already, that you're able to do that. So you don't have to memorize everything about bartering or dual relationships or conflicts of interest or, again, black and white thinking of if I have a conflict with the coworker, I immediately go to them. That's not always what you have to do. But if you memorized it and you kind of almost like miss small details within the situation, you may automatically go to that. But the code of ethics says when applicable, which means if you're uncomfortable, if you're not able to reach the coworker, you can go past that situation. So I don't recommend anyone memorizing anything. I simply recommend that they be able to recognize it, understand it, and be able to apply it to certain situations, because the exam is not a fill in the blank. The exam's not matching. It's here's the situation, here's the scenario, here's a definition, and be able to plug and chug and understand what the different four answers mean and why they are different and what's the similarities amongst them that could trip you up as well. So memorizing, absolutely not. Being able to apply and assess situations and being able to navigate the answering process, absolutely. So that's what I would say to that question. All right, so I tested on January 3rd, scored 88, needed 99. The first 50 questions blew me away. Just want to be able to refocus. Any tips? So my first recommendations when someone fails their exam is to reflect on the positives that you utilize within that exam attempt and what worked for you, and then identify the negatives of what didn't work for you or what are things that you need to remove from your next attempt, as well as forgiving yourself of this attempt so that way you can focus on your next mission in front of you. Because if you dwell too heavily on your first exam attempt, it's going to start influencing your thought process and your confidence level with and for what you're doing in this upcoming attempt. So to refocus yourself, you need to understand what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing to pass this exam. So for example, if my goal is to pass the exam and have this job, the motivation after failing the exam to get this job is probably not going to be that strong anymore. So you need to identify reasons and examples within your life why you do what you do. Because if you do not have enough energy and focus, you're going to make excuses and you're going to start beating yourself up based on the fact that it was not a strong enough motivation and it was kind of a superficial reason why you wanted to pass the exam. So for example, anything that I do within life is always focused on progressing my family to get a better spot than they were currently in or they have been in life in general. So anything that I do focuses on progressing myself so that way I can progress the people around me in some way, shape, or form. I don't just frivolously do activities. And when I do not do something that I wanted to do or I fail, quote unquote, I look at the situation and say, what can I do better? Or what was the lesson within this opportunity to get me to a place that I want to be in the future? Because there is no lost attempt in anything that you do. Everything that you do has to have a purpose and be a connection to your end result of what that looks like for you. And someone may tell you, you should do this, or you're really good at this, or you're so great at this. They may be trying to boost you up and fill you up, but if you do not believe the things that people are telling you, you're not going to absorb what they're saying, and it's going to be lost on you. Because once they stop telling you those positive things about yourself, you are then going to get into a negative spot and then feel like you need other people telling you what you need to do with and for your situation. You need to be intrinsically motivated rather than extrinsically, meaning external rewards or what are getting you going. You need to find something so strong within your situation at this moment that it's not just about you. It has to be about yourself so that we can mobilize and empower the people around you, because life is not about progressing ourselves and building ourselves up. It's about getting ourselves in talented and awesome moments to become successful, and success means different things to different people. So stay focused on your goal is to find the positives in the things, find good things about you, and surround yourself around positive people that are going to tell you good things, but only things that you actually believe about yourself. Because sometimes we're not going to believe that we can do things right from the beginning, and that's okay. But if over time you need someone to constantly tell you what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, it's not for you. And you just need to be honest with yourself and say, this isn't what I want right now, rather than trying to put on a fake face and say, I want it sometimes, but when it doesn't feel right, or when I get resistance, or when I'm not reaching the goals that I want, you just want to give up because you wanted to give up from the beginning and it wasn't your goal then. It wasn't what you wanted. And if this exam is not what you want at this given time, let it go. Be honest, give the energy and focus to something that you actually want to do, because then you'll actually have some success and happiness and some growth in your life. Because if you're not growing, you're not excited, and you're not doing the things that you want to do, then what are you doing? You're almost being a slave to what you being told to do, and that's not what we're built to do, because you would not tell a client or the people in your life to do the exact same. You wouldn't say put yourself into a terrible situation to where you hate your situation and you want to regret doing the things that you did up to this point. So to refocus after you fail, after a moment in your life, is to look at it. What was positive? What can I take from this? And I'm ready to lock and load to the next attempt because I'm excited. I'm fired up because I have this much more experience than I did before, and I'm going to get it the next time. I'm excited. So you almost have to convince yourself that this is the first time of me ever touching this exam, because you were excited before you failed the exam. You had all of these plans, and you need to readjust those plans because they are still possible. And they are possible because if you touch your chest and feel a heartbeat, you still have a purpose, and you still have the capabilities and opportunities to get what you want. Don't let something small in your life deter you from what you're supposed to be doing. That's it. That's all you are trying to do right now, is trying to convince yourself and play small. And you are not built to be small. You're powerful and gifted and talented in whatever you want to do, as long as you do not give up. Because if you're consistent and determined, you are going to get to your goal. So that's how you get focused back on something after something didn't go your way. You don't just fall down and say, oh my gosh, I'm here forever. Because if you can look up, you can get up, and you can dominate in anything that you do. That's why you need to be able to be so fired up about whatever you want to do in your life, about the goals that you have, because they are for the empowerment and the mobilization of the growth of yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're not growing and pushing yourself in some way, what's the point? So that's how you get yourself focused after a failed attempt, whether it be by 1, whether it be by 2, whether it's by 10 or 11 or 12 or 20 or 30 or 40, because you have something else to learn within this situation. So you have to take the blessings where you can, because not every person in this world gets opportunities to grow every single day. So you have to push yourself. You have to create situations where you otherwise would not have been in, because that's where you deserve to be. So that's how I'd suggest you getting refocused. Anxiety and self-doubt. I've learned by failing 3 times. I'm not a good test taker. Missed recently by 3 in testing for the 4th time, and will pass. But how do you best control the negative thoughts and doubt? My anxiety is an all-time high.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, how's it going? How's it going?
It is going. I'm not sure how I can follow up after that speech of yours, but I will certainly try. Definitely getting us all pumped up. I've tested 3 times, and the most recent was the beginning of December and missed by 3. And I'm geared up. I've been in the zone. I've been studying. I'm testing again March 7th. This time, aside from all of the regular stress and anxiety that already accompanies taking the test, my job's on the line. I have to pass this time. I renew. Oh my goodness, I think it's the end of April. So if it doesn't happen, I don't know. I'm trying not to go to that spot, but just having all this extra pressure on top, I'm really trying to kick the negative thoughts and the doubts and the past failures. But it's hard, man. It's really, really hard. And I'm just looking for any kind of suggestions I can, just to keep me on the straight and narrow. And the only thing that I can think of in my study habits is it's the actual test. It's being in that center. It's just something I suck taking these tests when it actually comes down to it.
Okay, so my first suggestion in this situation is to change your way that you're viewing yourself.
Okay.
Because in your question, you said you're not a good test taker, and you just said that you suck while in this testing center.
Okay.
How likely is that to improve your situation of passing?
Not at all.
So I think that's the starting block of you can't let go of the previous attempts because it's safe for you to beat yourself up rather than to build yourself up.
Yeah, I see that.
So that's where you have to view your previous 3 attempts and know that your recent one was by 3, not 30.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a published theory, but I swear I've said this like 100 times. The people that fail by less than 10 beat themselves up. The people that fail by more than 10 blame the exam.
Yeah. No, the second time was by 6. So I'm getting closer. It was 6 and then 3. And I know the material. I believe in my heart. I know what I'm doing, but it's just something in that environment just messes with my mind.
Do you actually think you can pass?
I really, really do.
So that is the mindset that you have to have 100% of the time.
Okay. Because
So
I can honestly say that this past time, my confidence was not there. And I tried not to get super pumped up because I was very confident the first and the second going in. And I was still shocked, seeing that fail the third time around.
but it worked.
Yeah.
You having a pumped up confidence worked. And do you want to know why you can have a pumped up confidence now?
I'm all ears.
You know the experience and what it looks like. You have seen more questions than anyone that has taken the test, less than you have.
Yeah. No, I agree. I appreciate that.
Because at this moment, you have seen 510 real test questions.
Oh my God.
Do you know how much money people would pay me if I told them I could get them a 510 practice questions in general, let alone actual test questions?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is you're almost like taking it as a detriment of, man, this is my 4th time. But you have seen all of those questions. And you want to know the cool thing? You didn't get a frontal lobotomy in between sessions.
Right.
You have that experience still. And that is where you have to change your mindset of, I can be so freaking confident because I've seen 510 test questions and I've answered the majority of them correct.
I've honestly never thought of it like that.
And that's where, and again, this is kind of be exaggerated, but you can walk in, kick the front door and say, I'm here, I'm ready, because you know the process. You know they're going to want to take your picture. You know they're going to want to scan your palm prints. You know they're going to strip you of all your belongings besides your ID and your locker key. You know these things. It's not rattling to you anymore.
Yeah.
Because you know. And that's the thing
Yeah.
is you've been telling yourself, I can't be confident because I have failed 3 times, but you've succeeded 3 times as well because you have experience of going in, believe in yourself, trust in yourself, following a process that you drew up yourself, and it has worked, and you were close.
Thank you very much.
I mean, that's the thing is you can almost accept and say it's okay to have self-doubt and anxiety. And I'm going to say it. It's okay to have self-doubt and anxiety. Our society and culture has convinced people that it's terrible to have anxiety and self-doubt of anything they're doing. It's okay because it's normal. It's normal to experience that because you're a human and care about this and you have stuff on the line now.
A lot on the line. And that's what I guess it's more of fear because it's not just another test again where, okay, worst case scenario, I can retest in 90 days. It's a lot more. So I'm just nervous that extra pressure is not going to work in my favor. So that's what I'm just trying to keep just my head in the right place.
And don't take this the wrong way.
Absolutely not.
But do you think that you could get another job?
I know I can. I know I can.
Then why are you putting all your marbles in this one basket?
Because I'm my worst critic.
And that's where it starts. That's where it starts is this job is important, yes, but you can find another one. So do not let that be a death sentence for you of, yep, I walk in here and I lose my job today. It's I walk in here, give my best effort, and if it doesn't shake out, I find another job. Yes, it's a letdown. Yes, I'm not going to be excited about it, but damn, didn't it feel good to believe in myself and not have anyone else have control over my situation based on the fact that I can find another one of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, don't take it the wrong way, meaning like I know finances is a real thing and I know all of these things are real, but at the end of the day, I would rather have you walk in there, believe in yourself, trust yourself, and build yourself up than to walk in there nervous, wrecking yourself, beating yourself up and saying you're going to lose a job that you otherwise could find another one afterwards.
Right. Right. No, I appreciate it. I mean, I'm giving my best every single time, and that's all I can do. And I'm going to go in again, hoping and praying like hell I'm going to crush it. But if I don't, I gave it my best.
Good. And that's all you can give. And I know as humans, we feel like we should do more and overanalyze and try to make up and do all of these things. But the way that we conduct ourselves is based on experience. So in order to be experienced, you must have experienced something.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. And like I said, it's so normal. And if it makes you feel better, before I started this session, I was super nervous. I have 65 other people that are listening, and it's nerve-wracking, But at the end of the day, I trusted myself and said, you've done this before, and whatever comes out of your mouth is what's meant to. So that's how you have to conduct yourself in the exam, is whatever you do during the exam was just what you meant to do. So just let it fly.
Thank you.
Of course. And if you need anything else, just let me know. Phil, can you give an example of acute stress disorder and brief psychotic disorder? In our tutoring session, I might have gotten the terms confused. Thank you so much. Yes. So they're very, very different, actually. So acute stress disorder is going to be a traumatic event. So a traumatic event that occurred within the last 30 days, because a traumatic event that occurs 30 days or more, so 30 days or more, is PTSD. So acute stress disorder focus on acute, think of acute care. Acute is something very, very short. Stress, trauma causes stress. So we have a short-term traumatic response to something. So a traumatic event that occurs within the last 30 days or more, is going to be PTSD. So then brief psychotic disorder is going to be hallucinations, delusions, or tangential speech, or 30 days or less. And again, key emphasis on brief. Why? Brief is a very short amount of time. Psychotic, think of somebody that's psychotic. They're either exhibiting hallucinations, delusions, or tangential speech. And then disorder is just discourse. So you have a brief episode of psychosis, hallucinations, or delusions, or tangential speech for 30 days or less, because 30 days to 6 months is schizophreniform. Why? It's the brief or pre-form of schizophrenia. So pre-form of schizophrenia. So 6 months or longer is, you guessed it, schizophrenia. So that is the difference between the two. Acute stress, trauma-related. Brief psychotic disorder, psychotic-related. So that is the progression of each of those types of disorders. So they're kind of closely related in name, but the presentation of what they do. So acute stress disorder, a traumatic event that occurred within the last 30 days or more is PTSD. And brief psychotic disorder, hallucinations, delusions, and or tangential speech for 30 days or less. 30 days to 6 months is schizophreniform, and 6 months or longer is schizophrenia. So that's how we look at those two disorders. All right, how long should we study prior to scheduling the exam? So this is all going to depend on what you feel you need to study prior to the exam, how well you do on questions and analysis and everything like that, as well as what is your style and comfortability around scheduling. So for example, personally, I did mine 1 month of studying, but then after a week, I was like, I need to turn the volume up, and I only studied for 2 weeks, because I'm a person that if I do something for very long periods of time, it's a miracle. I have very short attention span, and I am impulsive and like to get things done as fast as I possibly can. However, that's not going to work for every single person. Some people need 6 months. Some people say 3 months. Some people say 2 months. It all depends on what your comfort level is and what you're okay with. And again, a lot of people are going to suggest lengths of time based on their own experience, or they're canaries because they're saying everything that someone once told them because they want to help you in some way, and they don't have any evidence or backing based on that. So you have to sit down with yourself and say, what is appropriate for me? What feels okay? What doesn't feel okay? And if I keep rescheduling my exam, what's behind that? Is it anxiety? And if it's anxiety, I have to set that in check, because every time I reschedule my exam, I make it less and less likely that I'll actually take the exam. So there is something to be said about you feeling uncomfortable and not feeling ready, because you're never going to feel ready, and taking the exam anyway. Because so many times I've heard, Phil, I wasn't going to take the exam. I was second guessing myself. I was doubting myself. I wasn't sure if I can handle it. I walked in, kicked it in the chest, and I was surprised now I'm licensed. Again, it's all about going into an uncomfortable situation, prepared, but not 100% okay with it, and still getting that experience to propel you further on. So how long should you study prior to scheduling an exam? It all depends on your needs and what you're looking for in that particular situation to get you to where you want to go. Because it's not always going to feel comfortable. It's not always going to be the ideal situation, but there's no ideal situation. You have to create the situation that you want to see for yourself, because nothing's going to be always given to you, and it's not always going to be looking like what you want to, but you can ultimately push past that and get to where you want to go, because on the other side of your discomfort is success. Can you explain what the test physically looks like? I think I remember 170 questions, only 150 count in a specific time frame, also on a computer. Yes, absolutely correct. So you'll see 170 multiple choice questions. 20 of them do not count, but you don't know which 20 don't count. So answer 170 questions as if that's what the test is graded on, because you want to give one. You don't want to give one question less attention than something else based on the fact that you feel like it doesn't count. So give all 170 questions your direct motivation, focus, and energy, but know that 20 don't count. You get 4 hours to take the exam, or you can apply for accommodations based on physical, mental, or a mixture of both type conditions, and you can get additional time anywhere from 30 minutes all the way up to 4 additional hours to take your exam. So if that is something that you're like, I feel like I'd benefit from accommodations, go on the ASWB website, type in accommodations, and then you have to give it to your doctor, mental health therapist, etc., to get those services actually factually shared, and then you can get the accommodations that you need. And it is on a computer unless that's a part of your accommodations, because you can get accommodations for a pen and paper exam, but that's all based on your needs and what you and your mental health therapist or doctor come up to and plan for. So yes, all of those things are correct, but there's always going to be caveats and depends. But yes, you're right. You're on the exact right track. Will you clarify the difference between a subpoena and court order request for records? Yes. So I've alluded to this topic quite a bit, but I do not mind sharing it again. So I like manipulating words because that's how my mind works. So the difference here, so subpoena, we're going to whip out sub, and sub equals substitute teacher, because we don't respect substitute teachers when we are in school. So we don't respect a subpoena. So we can assert privilege over that substitute teacher or the sub based on the fact that we don't have to share knowledge with that person in any way, shape, or form. So if you get a subpoena from a lawyer, that's typically where it's going to come. You're going to assert privilege first. You're going to contact your client. You're going to seek supervision if you need to. And if the client provides consent, written consent for you to share that information, then you ultimately do that. But if the client's on the same page, then you're not going to share any information at all. Another way to look at it is peon, because peons are not something that we respect, and we don't respect a subpoena from a lawyer. So again, the same process would follow. You would assert privilege in some way over that person, aka I can't confirm or deny what this person is doing here. And then you're going to contact your client, and then you are going to do what they say. And if they say no, but if they give you their written consent, then you would share the information and seek supervision if you need to. And then court order, it is an order, and we have to listen to orders. So court orders typically come from judges, and that's the thing, is you can get a subpoena from a judge and it wouldn't be a subpoena any longer. It'd be a court order. So with court orders, we listen to orders. So you would ultimately contact your client first, because you can't assert privilege. It's an order, and we listen to orders because that comes from someone above us, and we can't assert privilege here. So we're going to contact our client first, inform that we have to disclose the information. You're going to seek supervision if you need to at that given time. aka you're going to look at your agency's policy. Do they have a legal team, and is that person going to take over at that time? If that supervision and agency policy checks out, then you're going to try and advocate on behalf of the client with the courts to not disclose the information if it could be detrimental to the person, if that information is shared. And if that doesn't go through, then you will release the least amount of information to appease whatever they want. So we're going to give minimal information in that situation. So that's the difference between a subpoena and a court order. Can you explain, when should a social worker consult a colleague as it pertains to ethical questions? Yes. So when you would consult with a coworker is if it is applicable, meaning, are you uncomfortable with consulting with them? And if you are, you're not going to do that, go to the supervisor. Or if you're feeling like you need to talk to the supervisor prior to processing it with the coworker, then you would do that as well. You're not going to sacrifice yourself based on what the code of ethics says, is that you should go to someone first before anything to help them amend their behavior. But you would always consult with the coworker when you're feeling comfortable with it and you feel that it's being detrimental in some way, but your comfort level and what you feel is important in this situation. You're not going to go to a coworker, for example, if they kissed you and you feel uncomfortable, you're not going to go up to them and say, wow, I can't believe you kissed me. You need to amend your behavior. I'm going to go to X, Y, or Z. You'd probably go to your supervisor, process about it, and that'd be a lot more comfortable for you. So that's where it's kind of sticky for me to give that black and white. But in the code of ethics, it says that we go to them if applicable, and applicable could be interpreted in many different ways.